Views expressed by Casters Guild members are only the opinions of that member, and that could change from day to day. Guild members may use mature language, but that in no way means they are mature. Listener discretion is advised.
Wrestling has changed a lot over the years, but something that will never change is trying moves with your friends in the backyard, even though the pros say don't try this at home. Some take that even further and start putting on shows. Try to fall through that table without going to the hospital, because that's the spell we're casting tonight on Casters Guild. Thank you for tuning in to tonight's episode of Casters Guild. I am your Guild Master Rick Perry, and I'm coming out of nowhere with the steel chair.
And I am your Guild Master Baron Kane, and I'm King of the Backyard.
And joining us tonight is a returning Guild member and two new ones. Feel free to introduce yourselves.
Guild member Billy. I've been on this wrestling journey before, and we're here to do it again.
Woo!
Yay!
My name is Ed Green, and the only reason you were King of the Backyard is you never faced me.
Yeah, my name is Rich Perry. And the only reason Ed thinks he's the king of the backyard is because I gave him a concussion more than once.
Concussions.
Nice. We brought you guys all here today because I have a really important question. I've only met a handful of real life wrestlers in my life. That's including Baron. And I've always wanted to ask this one question. Do either of you speak Carney?
No.
No! You don't speak Carney.
I speak ass-whooping redneck shit.
Okay. That's not quite Carney, but I'm sure Carney is intermingled with that at some point.
It's a different dialect.
Yeah, it's a different dialect.
It's funny, actually. I was a Carney first.
Really?
Yeah.
Did you speak Carney?
No. I was actually with the RIII people, so we didn't really do a lot of the the games and the. You know what I mean? The out there and stuff, so.
Oh, that's cool.
I dated a carny once. It was a good 24 hours.
That sounds about right.
So, where'd you guys get your start at?
Well, damn, Ed, didn't that start in Baltimore with Rockin' Richie B and Mr. E? That was damn, we were what, 20?
How long was it?
They made me, I was your manager, and they also made me ring announcer. I forgot all about that. Wow.
That was back in the day, man.
Oh, my God, that was a great time.
That was back when we started the ER Express. Edgar and Rich, the quickest way to the emergency room you would ever find.
Ooh, wow.
Back before the knees and the back started hurting so much, huh?
Yeah. I've only had 2 surgeries, so. But I don't know, Ed. Do you remember? Oh shit! We were down in Baltimore at the arena, and we ran into oh God, what was his name with the tennis racket? He managed
Jim Cornette.
Jesus Christ!
Jim Cornette. We ran into Jim Cornette in the damn parking garage. We sat on the back of his Cadillac for about 3 hours, talking to each other, just shooting the shit, telling stories. And in the middle of this parking lot, this man dropped his pants, and we start comparing scars for surgeries on your knees, on your hips. Wrestling, it may be scripted, it may be entertainment, but you better be a goddamn athlete to pull that shit off.
No doubt. No doubt. So you guys got started in the Baltimore area?
Yes.
How far around did you make it around?
It didn't happen. You get somebody who's got the money, and a lot of times, see, I prefer indie wrestling over pro. I like watching it because these are guys number one I can work with. And it's for the love. It's not a big money sport. You're not getting signed to make a contract. But you see these guys go out there and give their all. Where somebody would say, I'm not wrestling in front of 50 people. To me, it's like wrestling at Madison Square Garden. I'm going to give those 50 people or those 25 people the best deal I can give them.
I didn't care where we were. I didn't care what the money was. We were doing our thing. A lot of times we did it just for the kids. The kids were a big part of what we did. And as far as we've gone, I know Ed. Ed did some shows up in New Jersey. I did shows out in Michigan, North Carolina, and Ohio, and Pennsylvania.
Those are some good scenes.
Yeah, what time frame is this?
Oh, Jesus Christ. Montana, my daughter Montana is 25. I retired 2 months after she was born. So
Okay,
you're talking 25, 30 years ago, man.
So we're talking mid-90s.
Oh,
Yes.
man. The height of
Oh,
it.
yeah.
I went head to head with a young man in Michigan by the name of Raven before you knew who he was.
Nice. Well,
Before you knew who he was, he faced Bubba the Redneck, and he didn't like his night.
that's funny.
I think Raven was about 19 or 20 then.
That sounds about right.
Yeah,
Wow.
he was just young. He was up and coming, but you knew he had it. You knew he was going to go, to the show. He was going to go big time.
Who's the biggest guy in your estimation that you wrestled?
At the Hillbilly.
The Hillbilly.
The Hillbilly. Wrestled him in Baltimore. Man, that dude made Haystacks Calhoun look like a midget.
Oh, God. Haystacks is
He
huge.
had to have been, he had to have been 450 pounds. And, I mean, they called him the Bluegrass Hillbilly. And that's when Ed and I were in Baltimore, and they called me Rockin' Richie B. So, of course, they put rock and roll against bluegrass. And I was little back then. I wasn't as big in the middle, but they put me out there against this guy, and I tried. I screwed up, and I tried to body slam him, and he landed on me. He picked me up, threw me over the top rope into the crowd, and then the crowd proceeded to beat my ass. And that was not a show. They were kicking the shit out of me. And I'm trying to stay in character. I'm unconscious, right? That was rough.
So what inspired you to start wrestling? Because in the mid-90s, that wasn't exactly easy to do, nor was it something people did as often as they do now. I mean, now there's 100 wrestling schools here in Columbus.
Shit, Ed and I got into it when we were still in high school. Yes, this motherfucker and I went to high school together. That's how long we've known each other. We've been best friends since, God, I can't remember when.
Was it your cousin, Greg Greenland? I used to go over his house to watch wrestling all the time.
Yeah.
Old tapes from the early 80s, late 70s. Coliseum home video.
Yeah.
Coliseum home video. That's awesome.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. We had all the wrestling tapes back then.
Yeah.
We were watching
your
Bob
favorite?
Backlund and the Iron Sheik, baby.
Yeah, it's funny.
We actually have gone to WrestleMania when it was closed circuit before pay-per-view.
Yep. Closed circuit.
We went. What do we see? Was it WrestleMania 4 where they crowned when Macho Man won the title?
Yeah, well, Macho Man won the title, and we were at the match where Hulk Hogan slammed Andre the Giant.
Oof.
Yeah, we're talking. Me and Ed go back 30, 40 years into wrestling. Back before the NWO and all that dumbass bullshit that went.
We were before WrestleMania.
Yeah, before there was a WrestleMania.
Mm-hmm. Wow, God! Before WrestleMania, before the Royal Rumble, before they even had SummerSlam. Then they had we've kind of been here before most of the pay-per-views started.
But then
I think SummerSlam started in '88.
Oh, did it?
WrestleMania was '85.
Shit, I graduated in '85, so yeah, we were into it
in
before
'83.
Yeah. Yep. Before SummerSlam, look at that.
Well, at that time we had the WWF and what was
AWA,
it?
NWA.
Yeah,
American Wrestling Alliance, National Wrestling Alliance, and there for a while, Universal Wrestling Federation, run by Bill Watts.
Yeah.
Oh, Bill Watts, that big motherfucker.
But yeah, I got into it mainly because Dusty Rhodes, baby.
Oh
Yeah,
man,
back
yeah.
in the ring.
Dusty fucking Rhodes.
Yeah, I love Dusty as a kid. Of course, my Dusty was the one with the polka dots. You didn't have that Dusty. You had the real Dusty. I had the toy Dusty.
Right.
Yeah, I met Sapphire before she passed away. We went to a wrestling convention, and she's just the sweetest girl. Lord rest her soul.
I always thought she was. I remember Sapphire and Dusty really well. I was living in New York at the time, and Sapphire was, any woman on the street could have been Sapphire. So watching that whole angle take place as a kid was really cool because Sapphire kind of looked like my mom. Yeah, that was awesome. So Dusty Rhodes got you into it. So you're a big Dusty fan.
Big Dusty fan.
Like the redneck Dusty fan or American Dream Dusty fan?
The redneck Dusty fan.
Redneck
That's
Dusty.
why my main character in wrestling, the one that took me to different states, was Bubba the Redneck.
Bubba the Redneck. Wow, that's pretty plain and blunt to the point.
It was blunt and to the point. I wore a Confederate X on my shirt, and it said, "You wear your X, and I'll wear mine."
Jesus.
I've always loved that shirt. Always loved that shirt.
Jesus.
I still have it, brother.
I don't think I'd wear that shirt.
not
It
today.
is
Not today.
hanging.
Man, look,
I
look,
still have that shirt, man.
I own 2 Confederate flags. I ain't scared.
I still have the flag, too, that I beat you in the head with.
No, you didn't beat me in the head. What you covered me with it, you son of a bitch, and almost caused a riot.
Dude, I
Oh
got
my God.
fired over that match. I lost my job over that match. In real life, I lost my job.
In real life.
Yes,
There were people that I worked with. I didn't know it at the time, but there were people that I worked with in the audience. They went back and told my boss, and I was terminated the next day because I beat Edgar with a chain, threw him up against the ropes, had my buddies hold him down, and I shaved an X in his head. Then we covered him. We covered him with the Confederate flag and walked out. And I was fired for being a racist.
I will say that as a heel angle, that is a hell of a fucking heel angle.
thank you very much.
That was also back in the day where it's
Give
like
him the credit. He wrote it.
that's back in the day where people couldn't differentiate real from staged event. So it's like everybody just thought wrestling was real back then.
He lived with me. He was my roommate.
Yeah, I've told this story before at the first wrestling episode, but they did a stunt where I showed up as a Power Man Mr. E fan, and my dad, people not knowing he's my dad as Bubba Redneck, rips me out of the crowd, rips my Power Man Mr. E t-shirt off, and beats the little kid in the middle of the ring. And then that weekend I went home to my mom and broke my arm. So the next week I came back to their next wrestling event and had a cast on over my arm, and people actually thought he broke some little kid's arm. People actually thought that he was that evil.
That was the night that you and the Equalizer won the tag team titles from us.
Yep.
Oh,
We beat you in
Reactor.
Reactor, yeah.
Won the belt and broke some kid's arm. Jeez, man.
Damn right. We were terrible. The Redneck, it was Bubba the Redneck and the Redneck Wrecking Crew. We held a long, long reign as the heels of the freaking state. I mean, people could not match the evil that we produced.
This sounds like the most Smoky Mountain Wrestling thing I've heard.
Absolutely. Pretty much. Pretty much.
That is awesome. By the time, whenever I went to shows, it was always the WWF shows when I was a kid, or when I got older, the more mainstream shows. The real indie shows that had that authenticity. I've never been to a show like that. They don't really make them like that anymore, where you have that red hot heel, shaving X's in people's heads, draping flags over them, burning down the place, people throwing their babies in the air. I've never been in an environment like that. That is so crazy. So crazy. Do you guys almost get stabbed? Do you have any almost get stabbed stories?
Once.
No. We saw the riot in an orphanage one time. That was fun.
Oh.
Oh, let me tell you this story. It was wrestling, God, for this promotion up in New Jersey. They had a show at a orphanage, and we were the first match, and the guys who were wrestling were like the promoter and the booker, so we had the stalls and they weren't dressed. We go out there with me, my friend Jaden, who's our manager, and my partner, Divine One, Jason. We go out there and they give us the mic, which is a bad thing. So manager talks first, my partner talks, and I grab the mic and I say, hey, when my manager and partner are talking, shut up because you don't want me to come out there. And I got this bright idea. I said, if you think you can take me, stand up. Yeah, bad idea.
No.
Yeah, they stood up.
That was a day that grown man beat the shit out of like 12 8-year-olds. It was devastating.
We got back to the locker room. My friend said, my partner and my manager said, you know, if they came over the ropes, you'd been by yourself. I said, by myself? Hell, I already found my escape. Don't get me twisted.
That's the day you figured out which one would you rather fight, 12 5-year-olds or 5 12-year-olds.
I'd fight the 12-year-old for the 5-year-olds, trust me.
Yeah, 5-year-olds don't have a sense of right and wrong. You're not making it out of that fight alive.
But see, they all loved Edgar. They all loved Mr. E, the sensational one. He was definitely the fan favorite, and I was his evil nemesis. Man, they all hated my guts. They loved me, but they hated my guts. It was love-hate relationship, I guess you'd call it.
So you guys would do this on the weekends, or didn't you have like a regular day job?
Oh yeah, I drove a truck. Ed worked at working at merry-go-round then.
The guy from Redneck Records, he worked merry-go-round.
Here, you want to watch fear? You want to watch fear seep into Edgar's eyes?
Yes.
Here you go, Ed. Are you not hearing this?
Mm-mm.
No, if it's too loud, it cuts it out.
Bummer. I found bad to the bone. I knew that was just going to make him go, oh shit, and run for the locker room because the Redneck Wrecking Crew was looking for him.
So that was your music?
Yeah, bad to the bones. What the Redneck Wrecking Crew hit the ring to.
How many of you guys were they?
There's 4 of you, wasn't
At
it?
one time, God, at one time there was probably 10 of us, but everybody wanted to be part of the Redneck Wrecking Crew. But we had this boss, his name was Edgar, and he put a stop to all that shit. So we mainly, there was, the main crew, there was 3 of us. There was, well, not counting me, I was number 4, but there was the Equalizer, my tag team partner. There was Jay Funk, who ended up breaking his back in the ring. That was a bad scene. And God, what was Funk's partner's name? Ed, that big giant dude with the cowboy hat.
Whose partner?
Jay Funk's partner.
Oh.
Yeah, Jay actually broke his...
Terry Funk for a second. I was like, wait, what?
Oh, no. His name, we called him Jay Funk. He got in... He got jumped in the ring by a group of guys out of New Jersey. They picked him up and slammed him, and he didn't land correctly, which will show you just how dangerous what we were doing was. And he broke his back. And that was it for his wrestling career. He did recover. I've actually seen and talked to him several times, and he's doing well.
That's good. Wow. You never want to hear that, like, somebody... It's one thing to end a wrestling career. It's another thing to, like, be disabled for life over a wrestling move.
Right.
And then Rick's sister had a boyfriend at wrestling, didn't she? The $1 man. Oh, Rick's sake. Yeah.
Yeah. That's a good gimmick.
Yeah, the $1 man would walk into the ring before his match with a rose and a $1 bill, because Rick was po. He didn't have no money. And he would pick one lady in the audience, and they could come into the ring, and he would give them a kiss and the rose and a $1 bill. And he had developed and made his own championship belt called the $1 championship. And My daughter, Rick's sister, was just literally head over heels for him.
I need to
And then
clarify,
one
this
day
is a
he
different
finally
Rick.
picked
This
her.
is not incestuous. This is another
No,
guy
no.
named Rick.
Yeah, another guy named Rick. Rick Sager. But he finally picked her one day to come into the ring, and oh my God, I thought she was going to pass out.
No, that's sweet. The $1 man.
And the
Was he-
$1 man is actually the match that was going on that saw me turn away from being Bubba the Redneck.
What did you evolve into?
Well, my daughter had been born, and honestly, I was sitting back at home and we were watching tapes, and I was like, "Man, you're a dick," you know. I'm looking at the tapes of some of the things that I did, and yes, it was all storyline, it was all make believe, but man, I did some fucked up shit, and I was like, man, if my daughter ever grows up and watches these tapes, what the hell is she going to think about her old man? And then one night, I think we were in Edgewood. The crew, my crew, had jumped the $1 man because he was wrestling one of our guys, and he was winning, and we couldn't have that.
No.
So they stormed the ring, and they are beating this boy half to death. And I walked out of the dressing room, nice and easy, sauntering along like Bubba the Redneck would. And I get to the ring, and the Equalizer and one of the other guys grab him up, and they're holding him side. And they're like, "Go ahead, crack him. And I smiled, and I drew back, and I hit the Equalizer as hard as I could right between his flipping eyes. And I proceeded to beat the shit out of both of them. And here's the whole thing. There was only one person in the auditorium that knew I was going to do it, and that was Ed. Nobody else knew. None of the wrestlers knew it was coming. So poor Rick, the $1 man, is cowering in the corner, thinking he's next. Bubba's just done lost his mind, and he's going to kill everybody. My crew had no idea it was coming. They went with it. We were good at what we did. They went with it. And I reached over and I stuck one hand out to the $1 man and pulled him out of that corner and hugged him. And that was the end of Bubba the Redneck. Until I got to Michigan. Oh yeah, the crowd loved that shit. They loved that shit. But then when I got up into Michigan, I brought him back because being a good guy sucked.
With all the wrestlers, I hear that more often. That it's not nearly as creatively fulfilling to be a good guy.
No, and Ed can tell you. Ed, if you could hear him, Ed was always the good guy, and him and he was a bad guy a couple times, but not often.
When I went and pursued after this stage of my career, I've been primarily a heel, and it's so much fun pissing people off. It is so much fun.
It is.
Now I know why in real life. It's so much fun pissing people off.
It's so easy to just walk in an arena and flip somebody off, or look at somebody and say, "What are you looking at, jack off?" Because you can say whatever you want, do whatever you want, be as ignorant as you want. I've walked up, guy and a girl up in the front row, and she's a little hottie. And I'll walk up and look at him and say, "What the hell are you doing with my bitch?" And, I'll get ready to start a fight. It's a fake thing, but he don't know that. But, I'll be like, "Man, I'm going to take your girl in the back, and the things I'm going to do to her."
Oh, that's some Dudley Boy stuff right there.
I could get away with that because I was the heel.
So when you guys are in the ring, what was the most painful move to take?
The worst one I ever took, and I always hated them after that, was a pile driver.
Okay, I could see that.
Yeah. I took a pile driver one time from Edgar's partner, and I spent 4 days in bed after that. It just...
Not my fault. No, but that was scary as fuck. I'll never forget that. That's probably the only time in that federation I broke character and ran out there. Being that we've got a job to do, he's also my friend.
Right.
And I'm not gonna, But yeah, the worst thing I've ever taken. Oh my God! Because some people like to put a little mustard on that hot dog when they bring you down, and it's that feeling of being out of control when they pick you up in a pile driver and you're sitting there, you know it's coming, and that downward swing, man, is a bitch.
And once you're in the air, you're relying on them. You have no control. You have to rely on that person. You have to have full trust.
Like Rich was saying, you've got to trust the guy. You know, the worst case scenario is I had a guy hit me with a clothesline, and he ended up hitting me right where the sternum and the bottom of the sternum.
Mm.
And you know, like, one, it's hard to take, and two, it's hard to breathe afterwards. You know, you get this knot in the center of your lungs. But yeah, that is the one disadvantage of independent wrestling, because you don't know where people get trained.
Right.
And, you know, they may use them because they sell a lot of tickets or something, and they'll put them in the ring, and you really don't know, because doing independent shows is like a one-night stand. You don't know what you're going to get or how good it's going to be. And you just have to trust. You just got to trust the guy. Well, I prefer getting in the ring with bigger guys because I don't have to work as hard. I do some stuff. You throw me around, I cheat, I win, I'm gone. But yeah, I took a superplex one time, and I thought I was going to die. It actually wasn't as bad as I thought it was going to be, considering this guy was 6 foot. We're on the top rope, which is another 5 feet off the ground, and he hoists me up, so I'm another 4 feet in the air, and I'm thinking, yeah, this is it. It's the end. And I hit the mat, and I'm like, systems check. All right, I'm good. Let's go.
Yeah, I'll tell you, just a couple points. I mean, I did the backyard wrestling stuff. I never will say that I was a real wrestler. At most, I will say I was a semi-pro wrestler, just making a joke on semi-pro football and shit. But I would have never went to to a wrestling organization and try to pass myself off as a real wrestler, because there's no way I would have trusted myself not to hurt somebody when I got up there. I thought I was pretty safe, but there's no way I would have trusted myself to not hurt somebody.
I will tell you this story. Me and Rich, I created the SWF, Southern Professional Wrestling Federation, because I figured I would never make it to the Indies. We did it for about 4 or 5 years until it got shut down by the State Athletic Commission.
Fucking Maryland.
And I said, well, you know what? Yeah. And I said, you know what? It's time for me to make that jump. So I called the Pennsylvania Athletic Commission to find out if there was a school. And it just so happens the guy I spoke to had a wrestling school, so I went there for a tryout. I didn't make it the first time. I went back 30 days later and made it. And the guy said nobody has ever came back that said they were going to come back. Well, obviously, I wanted it. And I worked hard. And as far as actually my tag team partner, Jason, me and my manager actually bullshitted him into an independent, because we told him he used to wrestle for his dad in Colorado. And then it went to front, and we brought him in. And it was funny because we went for a tryout. Our manager says, hey, when they call for volunteers, jump in the ring. And I heard, okay, guys, we need 2 volunteers. And I climb up on the ring apron, and I hear the guy say, oh, shit, tag team partners. And I looked up, and there was my boy, D1, and I had wrestled him about 100 times in the SWF. So I said, yeah, we're going to get through this. Because we knew how to work with each other, and it got him in. So, yeah, we kind of pulled one over on the indie scene. Again, we did shit that didn't hurt either one. Although he hated when I chopped. He wouldn't let me chop him.
No, he did not like you chopping. Ed could lay a chop on your chest, they'd hear it a mile away.
Yeah.
But yeah,
What was you guys? What's your guys' finishing moves? What did you end your matches with? Oh, he's back in there.
Yeah, go ahead and do yours.
Oh my God, Rick, what did I call that thing? It's been so many years. Ed knows. I know he does. If he could hear me, called the redneck. What do we call that?
I named the group. I don't think I named your move though.
Well, it was actually a ripoff of the British Bulldogs move.
The running power slam.
No, the bulldog, where they grabbed you by the head. I would grab a dude by the head, in an inverted headlock, and then drop his head.
Okay, a bulldog.
And,
Yeah.
Yeah, just like we called it the redneck drop or some shit like that. I don't know, but it was.
Wait, are you
People
talking about
loved
where
it,
you
and they
have
knew
him?
when I had
Is it like
that.
a D? Is it like a DDT except he's upside down?
Yes,
So like
It's
the
a bulldog.
slap drop?
yeah,
Like the
reverse
scorpion
DDT.
Hmm.
But the people
I-
knew when I spun you around and I laid that arm around your neck, it was over.
I
I
had a
don't think
move
I
called
ever
the
got to use it on the Power Man though.
No, because I mean we had that Rebel Chain match. That was good though.
That was a great match. We
Yeah.
tied chains. We hooked ourselves together with chains. It was about a 15-foot chain, and we proceeded to beat the shit out of each other that night.
Were you hooked by the neck or by the wrist?
No, we were hooked by the wrist. Ed had
Okay.
it wrapped around his neck more than once.
I'm sure he did. Why
I
wouldn't
threw
you?
him. We had it planned. We had it planned. Are you familiar with how wrestlers bleed?
Yes.
So we had it planned. We're having a chain match. Somebody's got to bleed.
Yeah, intentional or otherwise.
Yeah, well, Ed volunteered, so I throw him over the top rope, and we're on the other side of the apron from the crowd where nobody can see us down there. And Ed's got the blade taped up in his finger, and he gets it out, and I'm just, I'm faking, like I'm beating him half to death, and I've got the chain wrapped around my fist as I'm coming down on him, playing it up really good, and Ed looks up at me. I'll never forget this. He looks up at me and he says, "You got to do it. I can't." I'm like, "What are you talking about?" He said, "I can't feel myself." I grabbed that damn blade from him and I sliced that boy right across his eye. Oh, shit.
It had to happen. And the thing was, we didn't tell nobody.
Nope.
Not the commentators, not the referee, not the boys in the back. So when I came up and he wrapped that chain around my hip, and I'm staggering and I'm looking towards the camera, and I hear and you got the this one's bleeding. It wasn't. I wasn't bleeding buckets, but just enough to make it look. Hey, look, this is legitimate. The shit. God, I remember that too. I think about that all the time. And the one guy said, "What are you trying to get us thrown out of here?" I said,
yeah,
no.
because they were afraid they were going to throw us out for you bleeding.
But they never did. I could have just said, "Hey, I slipped and hit my head on the and just kept going."
No, you remember? Remember that? What was that young dude that used to come down and wrestle with us from that federation in New Jersey?
Yeah, there was Al. He ended up becoming my manager. He got me booked on the indie scene.
I remember cracking a pool stick across this guy's face. Now, me, I wanted to cut the pool stick. It should be a prop. Oh, no, he wouldn't have it. This guy was a hardcore wrestler. I had to hit him in the face with a pool stick and bust the pool stick. And it broke his nose. And I mean, it split his nose wide open. There was blood everywhere that night. But that was him, man. He was the guy that would have, cage matches with ladders. And I remember the night he threw a waffle iron into the damn ring. What he could do with a waffle iron? And then I watched him do it with the waffle iron. He knocked the guy right in the head with it. But those guys from New Jersey, man, they were ape shit crazy. They were more of a hardcore federation, and man, they were nasty.
Backyard wrestlers that Bret Hart and all the pros talk about in a negative light, it was them. Because I wanted our federation to be just like, regular wrestling. Everybody said, "Why do you have a world title?" I said, "Because wrestling has a world title. We had a world title, we had a TV title, we had tags, we had the United States, and the kids that came enjoyed it. I actually, after I stopped doing it, I remember walking to a store and some kids said, "Hey, Power Man," I said, "Hey, how you doing?" I actually worked with a guy years later. He said, "Wait a minute, didn't you used to wrestle? He was the Power Man." Damn. I said, "Really? I made that pretty of an impression? That's pretty cool."
Yeah, I remember at one time I would come down to the ring with the tag team championship on one shoulder, the heavyweight championship on the other shoulder, and the intercontinental championship around my waist. I had three of them at one time. Really pissed a lot of people off.
Our little backyard
That
federation.
didn't last too long. Ed had to change that up because there were some other wrestlers getting kind of butthurt that Bubba had all the damn belts.
I could see that. So, do you guys keep up with any of the product today? Does any of it interest you at all?
Me? Hell no.
So, what's the
Today,
problem with these damn kids?
they're posers, man. They don't know nothing about what we did back in the day. They're posers. You know, you got guys out there that I can respect, Stone Cold, but he's too old now. I did like The Rock for a while, but posers. Just a bunch of imitation, pretty boy, steroid taking wannabes. No talent having, just I don't know. I don't like them. I quit watching it. They piss me off, and I was like, "What are you doing to something that I really loved?" I just quit.
I understand. It's a lot different than it used to be. It's a lot different than it used to be just 10 years ago.
The thing that made, I don't know, how do you say it without trying to be conceited, but the thing that made our federation was the rivalry between Bubba the Redneck and the sensational one, the Power Man, Mr. E. But because we had known each other most of our lives, we could play off each other. We could insult each other and go. The conversations not even at wrestling, just in the car, drinking beer, partying on a Friday night. The conversations we could have would blow your mind. And like I said, if you could hear him right now, and me and him got to going back and forth, y'all would probably have to pick yourselves off the floor because you'd be laughing so damn hard.
I don't know what director said it, but there's a lot of directors in Hollywood who say, you have to be a genius to play an idiot. And I think it's something very similar with like the relationship that you guys have, where you have to be best friends to play enemies that well. Like you have to know each other that well. And I think that really showed in your ring performance.
It made the show. Everybody loved the Power Man, and damn that redneck. And think about where we were doing shows too. We were in a little place in Maryland called Aberdeen. In Aberdeen, Maryland, this face is the minority. Edgar's face is the majority. So when you get a white boy that came out into that ring with a Confederate flag on his shirt, a Confederate bandana on his head, waving a Confederate flag, with the audacity to call himself redneck, beaten up on the good guy who was black, it made for a hell of a controversy. And probably, again, why I got fired from my job.
Do you have any Tracy Smothers stories? Did you ever run into Tracy Smothers?
Not me. Now, Ed may have. Now, my cousin, who Edgar was talking about earlier, Greg has more money than God had lick of sense. And he was fascinated with the WWF. So he started traveling. Wherever there was a WWF show, Greg was there. And he used this, as he got to know people, he wiggled himself into employment with the WWF, where at first he started out as a ring photographer. He would be down at ringside taking photos. And then every once in a while, you would need a doctor at ringside. And I'll never forget the first time I was watching Raw, and they called for a doctor to come out of the back. And here comes my cousin dressed up as a freaking doctor in a white coat with a black bag. And he played the doctor. So because of his relationship with the WWF, of course, whenever we were in town, I took full advantage of that. Because if you ever in your life want to go to a party with wrestlers with money, not backyard wrestlers or indie wrestlers. I mean, wrestlers with money.
I don't think I could. I would die.
I walked in to the locker room one night in the Baltimore Arena, and I do not know why I'm having such a hard time with names tonight. Back in the 90s, he was the big pretty boy, pretty long brown hair. He was part of with Kevin Nash. And
are you talking about
Sean Waltman?
Sean. Yes.
Yeah.
I walk into the locker room, and he's sitting. He's, I don't know if he was drunk or strung out on coke, but the dude was gone. And he's got this blonde chick by the hair. And he's looking at me, and he's like, I come in, and Greg says, how you doing, Sean? I looked at him and said, hey, man. It never misses a beat. And then he looks over at me and said, hey, you guys want to go next? I'm like, you guys party beyond party. This is just ridiculous. And but you know, what wrestling show have you ever watched where that front row wasn't full of beautiful blondes? And if you paid attention, especially back in the 90s, if you paid attention, they were the same girls at every show.
I know they did that at ECW shows.
Yep, they followed the show to do nothing but get with the wrestlers. That's all they wanted to do. You know, like the guys would call them sweet butts because that's all they were for was sweet butt. And yeah, but the drugs that went on, man.
If you need some gear to go party with some wrestlers, or possibly some gear to head into ringside, why don't you check out T-Villain? T-Villain is a t-shirt site where you'll find a killer limited edition shirt being sold for $13 for only 24 hours. The following 24 hours will feature a new design and so on and so forth. They choose the most ingenious designs that reflect everything evil and villainy, as well as works pertaining to anything artistic, pulp style, lowbrow, pop culture, TV, movies, music, video games, comics, etc. All things cool and evil, basically. So check them out and help Casters Guild. Click our link in the description.
Oh man, Mr. E. God damn, you know how long I've known that dude? Good times. Me and that dude had some real good times growing up. And Rick, my daughter Rachel, they were like Ed's kids too, man.
That's awesome. So what led to your retirement?
My daughter. My middle daughter, Montana, when she was born, I don't know, life was changing at that time. I had just gotten remarried. Well, I wasn't married yet, but I'd been with the same young lady for a while. We were living together, and we had the baby. My life was turning in a different direction. I had got, I mean, let's just to put it in no uncertain terms, I was headed to jail or the graveyard, and I had turned a corner. I mean, Rick can tell you, I wasn't a very good person back then. It wasn't just in the wrestling ring. I was not a great guy. My family did not come first. Other things came first. And, partying, having a good time meant more to me than my family did at that time. But I had taken a turn, and I had brought Rick out to live with me in Michigan. And actually, him and his sister both were staying with me and Holly in Maryland while his mom was taking care of some problems she needed to take care of. And it made me realize that I needed to head my life in a different direction. And so I didn't like being the good guy in wrestling. And I knew that if I was going to stay in wrestling, I needed to be the good guy because I didn't want my kids to see that, me doing that. Even though it's a show, you don't want your kids to think about that the rest of their lives and be like, yeah, your dad was a dick. So, yeah, it had to be. That was one of the biggest reasons. But I also drove a tractor trailer at the time, and I was climbing up into my rig, and the step on the rig broke, and I came down on my right knee, and I shattered the meniscus and all the cartilage in my right knee. And
blew it out.
Yeah, I totally blew it out. 2 surgeries later, I still walk around with a limp half the day, and it was done. It was just time for me to move on. Ed, that sumbitch, 50-some years old, he'll still go out and wrestle today. Not me. I'm too old for that. I'll die.
I will say, too, like the thing you're saying about your kid seeing you as a bad guy, kid seeing you as a good guy. Like, when you used to wrestle and you were, Bubba Redneck, I thought it was cool that you were a wrestler. But to be honest, as a little kid, I was always a Power Man fan because I like the good guy. Most little kids do like the good guy. And I remember there was a show you did, and I want to say it was like, I was a little kid, so like, bear with me on my memory here. But I think it was a county fair show, and you showed up with the face turn character where you showed up as the clean-cut cowboy instead as the redneck. You had the white Stetson hat, the button...
The Big M.
Yeah, it was at the Big M, the button-down denim shirt, and that's the moment, as a kid, I became a fan of you as a wrestler. Like, when I saw, like, you come in as the clean-cut cowboy good guy, I was like, I'm a fan of this wrestler right here. So, like, I know exactly what you mean. Like, that's a very clear memory in my mind of the first time I was a fan of you as a wrestler, and it was when you were a good guy.
Yep, that was big show we did at the Big M. They had a live band and all there. I remember they brought the whole crew, the whole wrestling federation up on stage. The band did, and we all did the Wild Thing together. It was a good day. Edgar came to the ring on the back of a motorcycle. Yeah, I remember, old man. I see you back there in the back laughing.
Yeah, I bet anybody listening right now, you can't really see us because we're not going to post a video, but Edgar can't really contribute to the conversation, but we can definitely see his reactions to it, and it's funny.
That's a mysterious stranger.
He exists, I promise.
Well, that's really cool. It sounds like you had a pretty good career.
I think I did. I enjoyed it. Many memories, a lot of photographs. My wife, oh my God, my wife found a photograph that we took right after the Equalizer and I took the tag team championships from Ed and his partner. And Bobby and I are standing there together, arm in arm, with the flag between us, the redneck flag. And my wife found that picture, and all of a sudden, it's on Facebook. All over the place. And I was like, I'm glad we didn't have Facebook back then. Just, oh my God.
Oh man, if you had the internet back then, just everything would have been different, but wrestling would have been ruined.
Yeah, the
People
internet that we had back then, I remember we had just got internet, and it was that dial-up, AOL, and you'd type in a web address and walk away, and maybe in a half hour when you came back, the whole page would be loaded in.
I remember that internet. I think I'm actually still waiting on that one wrestling show to download that I started downloading in '95. So, just a brief glimpse into the window of wrestling as it was, and it's definitely the wrestling that I remember. It is wild, chaotic, and it is definitely a culture in and of itself. I believe that there are, in some ways, a reflection of that world in the wrestling that is today, especially given that we still have wrestlers that are in the ring that come from that era of wrestling. And if you want to get a look at that, there's plenty of stuff online where you can, especially given the nature of the internet today, there's plenty of stuff online where you can find a lot of old shows. You can find a lot of old wrestlers, especially a lot of the indie stuff. Never, ever, ever forget the indie stuff, because without the indie stuff, we wouldn't have the big-time wrestlers that we have today. So, in that vein, just get out there, check it out, consume, and you know what? Jump into comments and you let us know who your favorite indie promotion is, who your favorite indie wrestlers are. And if you don't have one yet, go get one and then come back and tell us who they are.
So this is my third, fourth, I don't know. I've never used my guild degree. So I'm going to use it right now. And it's going to be real simple.
Okay.
Real simple. Boo the bad guys and cheer the good guys.
Yeah.
That's it.
Guild decree.
That's a guild decree.
That's all I want.
Yeah.
That's all I want.
Guild decree. Are you ready for this one?
Oh, shit. All of the end.
And I hope you can hear me. My guild decree. Bubba the Redneck. Much better wrestler than the Power Man Mr. E ever was.
Ow.
Oh, oof.
That is now a fact.
You know what? Guild decree. Power Man Mr. E, though, way prettier. Way prettier.
Oh, snap. Oh, Guild Decree, undebatable. Oh, what a way! Those were some of the most wrestling Guild Decrees I've ever heard in my life. What a way to end a wrestling episode. All right,
I'm looking out for you, Mr. E. I use my Guild Decree for you, buddy.
all right. In this order, and if we can hear you, Billy, Rich, Ed. If people like what you had to say, and they want to find you anywhere on the internet, where can they do that?
I'm available on most social media platforms at SixSaidBilly. You can find me on TikTok, Twitter, Instagram. I'm on LinkedIn. I don't know why. Yeah, you can find me there. I don't know why you would, though.
I'm too old for all of it. But just for a tidbit, you can find beautiful videos on TikTok at Bruno the Bloodhound. Watch my puppy grow up.
Nice. And since he doesn't use social media, we'll just put his snail mail address in the box. So I'm kidding.
That could be bad. There's many freaking husbands out there that like to find me.
And you can't hear Ed right now, but I promise I will get his links from him, and they will be in the description. So make sure you check him out. Very talented man, still out there doing stuff.
All right, I also want to do a little shout out to Unsanctioned Pro. They got a big show coming up Saturday, October 1st. It's Unsanctioned Pro Wrestle Stock. It's going to be pretty much an all-day and all-night event, as it's going to be a camp out. 3:30, the schedule starts. You got a tailgate party with free burgers, hot dogs, and beer. You can't beat that. 6 p.m., Unsanctioned Pro Wrestle Stock begins. 11 p.m., Unsanctioned Pro, 2,000 rounds. You're going to have campsites with electricity, hot dogs, and a handshake, photo ops. It is a BYOB event, and they're going to end the night in a big bonfire. It's going to be held at Hannon's Camp America, 8501 Camden College Corner Road, College Corner, Ohio. Tickets and campsite reservations are available now at unsanctionedpro.com. And you're going to have wrestlers like Christian Robinson, Billy Starks, Lexus Montez, Sam Beal, Trey Miguel, Myron Reed, Brian Keith, he's a new favorite of mine, Lord Crew and Aaron Williams. Lord Crew, you may have seen on the big TV events lately. Maxie Impaler. Lots of great wrestlers, lots of great events. Can't say enough good things about this place. You definitely, if you're going to go see, if you're in Ohio and you got to go see an indie show, go see Unsanctioned Pro.
Thank you very much for tuning into this episode of the Casters Guild. Email us at castersguild@gmail.com. Find us on all the socials and get out there and watch a wrestling show. They're out there. They're independent. They need your support. See you in the next one. Bye-bye, everybody. Bye.
Bye-bye.
Bye. Bye.
So long.
Woo!
Oh, wait. Also, go see Big Beef.
Where's the beef?
He's going to be at Unsanctioned Pro Wrestle Stock, October 1st.